Good evening and welcome to Unwanted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. It is unacceptable that in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, the use of the colors blue and white is criminal. Blue and white are the colors of the flag of Ambazonia. To the thugs of La République du Cameroon in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, manipulating the colors blue and white means you are an enemy to La République du Cameroon and an ally to the Ambazonian Restoration Forces. A fan of Chelsea Football Club has been arrested by La République du Cameroon colonial military and is now in prison for having in his possession the colors of his favorite club. This is just an indication and the proof of how southern Cameroon's Ambazonians are suffering at the hands of the thugs of La République du Cameroon deployed to Ambazonia. Why are this colonial La République du Cameroon's military afraid of the colors blue and white? Would other supporters of Chelsea in Ambazonia still remain loyal to their club with the arrest of Guillaume? These and more we'll find out on Undaunted tonight. While we brace up for the weekly briefings with Dr. Martin Mungwa with the title The Historical Facts and La République du Cameroon's Deceit surrounding the Quebec monologue. We'll have the prime headlines usher us into the news of tonight.
These are the prime headlines for today. Unity Palace Warriors of Sheikh Tata Woods Kandi welcomes freedom fighters. Today on Undaunted, we have 3 cases of monkeypox detected in Bangam. Also today, Elon Musk buys Twitter and sacks top admins. Also today, an Amazonia has been imprisoned for supporting Chelsea Football Club by La République du Cameroon. And still on the issue of cooking gas, well, we can say today that cooking gas is back, but not the price, especially in Bamenda.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. the privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with undaunted ABC Amber News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Amazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amber TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amber TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Amazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way around.
And like we say it always, Amazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
People, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, best.
Over the weekend, the Unity Palace Warriors propaganda machine of Shea Tata Woods Candy presented the video above of 2 warriors who had reportedly escaped from Kikaikom and were heading back to Ungokentuja. Now, the 2 fighters are said to be Mission Commander Satan Blue T-shirt and fellow soldiers. Both fighters had escaped from the torture of No Pity and joined the Buyi warriors under the reign of F.Asce. May he so rest in peace, that since 2020. After their arrest and interrogation by the Unity Palace warriors, where they were forced under duress to say bad things about Major General Tokandu and the main Buyi warriors barracks at Kikaikum, Mission Commander Satan was later killed in cold blood yesterday around 7 p.m. Amber time and his corpse dumped around the Bangoran Mosque. As on now, his remains have been recovered and buried by his friends and families. Fellow Ambazonians, this is where we will begin the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. I am Oni Obalance Desmat is here as always. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Oni. Good evening, fellow Ambazonians. Many brave and serious fighters from Buyi, the likes of late General Etu, General Watanawata, FM Sobu, have been killed Shay Tata Skandi, a known thief who poses as a humanitarian agent in Nigeria, have been deceiving and brainwashing some fighters for him and directing them to steal and confiscate people's property instead of fighting to protect their country and the nation of Ambazonia. Above are warnings from Major General Token due to the thief and chief manipulator Shay Tata Kandi, challenging him to come home and be a man rather than hide in Nigeria and instigate fighters to be killed. This is coming from Buyi's security team, and there is a video of Major General.
All right, I'm from Kumbo local government. This report is from 31st of October 2022. Now, the Ambazonia Restoration Forces ARFs of Reber, under the leadership of Major General Tokandu, deleted one of the dictator Paul Biya's terrorist elements in Squares Kumbo yesterday. Now, the ARFs received intel of public terrorists who had encroached and started shooting indiscriminately at civilians who were playing their football game. The Ambazonia Restoration Forces laid an ambush for them and deleted one. No matter the time or strategy they use, the Bui warriors are always ready.
Now from Zekwa local government area update on the 31st of October 2022. A civilian from neighboring Ndop was shot and killed by the Unity Palace warriors of Kwanso in Zekwa local government area on Saturday 30th. The 10th, 2022, as he was heading to the market. The individual killed was carrying his dad to the market when he was stopped at a control point. An argument ensued, and the soldiers on guard under Colonel 3 started immediately opening fire at him. Bystanders tried to rush him to St. Monica Hospital, but he died on the way. Reports of multiple control checkpoints set up by the Unity Palace war, especially in Zekwa for extortion, is really alarming. The private handlers, the likes of Lukong Yuven and Shewo Skandi, using these fighters to settle score, not go free. This is a security update from the Boyi County security team.
All right, and moving on, the human race is subjected from one health challenge to another. Pandemics, natural disasters, and epidemics have proven to be the spice in human existence. One is tempted to ask if it is God's regulatory mechanism. Yesterday, we were talking about COVID-19. Today, in Ambazonia and in the southern zone in particular, it is monkeypox virus. The question is, what is this virus? What are the signs of the manifestation of the virus?
Now, we brought you this report some time back, and Bangam District Hospital, Kupe Mwanenguba County, Southern Region, has detected 3 cases of monkeypox virus, and they included a 20 and 23-year-old males and a 4-year-old female. The district medical officer DMO for Bangam Health District, Dr. Nkeng Fobella, disclosed that they have collected samples from the patients and sent to Center Pasteur Yaoundé for confirmation. He stated that the 3 suspected cases are all recovering on symptomatic treatments in the hospital. The doctor said based on the epidemic of monkeypox, they have put in place a surveillance precaution at the various jurisdictions. Describing the virus in details, Dr. Fobella says monkeypox is very contagious, dangerous, and deadly. He explained that the virus can be gotten from close contact with animals, both raw and cooked, if not well prepared. The DMO said the virus, which has a period of 3 weeks, is usually manifested by a rash that may be located in the genitals, hands, feet, face, chest, and mouth.
He says initially they look like pimples or blisters and may be painful or itchy. The doctor intimated that other symptoms are fever, chills, flu-like symptoms, swollen lymph nodes, muscle aches, respiratory symptoms. He has called on the population of Bangam local government area to be vigilant and report suspected cases to the hospital for immediate treatment. It should be noted that in the southern region, there are already confirmed cases of monkeypox virus in Tiko, Mbangay, Kamba, Tambel, and Nguti.
We the
Now let's
people,
give you
ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
Now let's bring you a little bit of some foreign report here. Elon Musk was born in June 28, 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa. The South African-born American entrepreneur who co-founded the electronic payment firm PayPal and formed SpaceX of launch vehicles and spacecraft was also one of the first significant investors as well as chief executive officer of the electric car manufacturer Tesla. And the latest, Musk has just acquired Twitter. Billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk has offered to take Twitter Incorporated private in a deal valued at $43 billion, lambasting company management and saying he's the person who can unlock the extraordinary potential of a communication platform used daily by more than 200 million people. The world's richest person said he will pay 54.20 dollars per share in cash, 38% above the price as at April 1st, the last trading day before Musk went public with his stake.
Now, the social media company shares were little changed at $45.81 in New York on Thursday, a sign there is skepticism that one of the platform's most outspoken users will succeed in his takeover attempt. Musk, who is 50 years, announced the proposed deal in a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on Thursday after turning down the chance to take a board seat at the company. Musk, who also controls Tesla International Incorporated, first disclosed a stake of about 9% on April 4th, making him the largest individual investor. Tesla shares fell about 3% on concern that the attempt to acquire Twitter will be a distraction for Musk. Musk has taken ownership of Twitter Incorporated with brutal efficiency, firing top executives but providing little clarity over how he will achieve ambitions he has outlined for the influential social media platform. The bird is freed, he tweeted after he completed his $44 billion acquisition on Thursday, referencing Twitter's bird logo in an apparent nod to his desire to see the company have fewer limits on content that can be posted.
The CEO of electric car maker Tesla Incorporated and self-described free speech absolute has, however, also said he wants to prevent the platform from becoming an echo chamber for hate and division. Other goals include wanting to defeat spam bots on Twitter and make their algorithms there determine how content is presented to its users publicly available. Yet, Marx has not offered those and how he will achieve all this and who will run the company. He has said he plans to cut jobs, leaving Twitter's 7,500 employees frightened about their future. He also said on Thursday that he did not buy Twitter to make more money, but to try to help humanity, whom he loves, he said. Now, less than 10% of 266 Twitter employees who participated in a pool on messaging app Blind expected to still have their jobs in 3 months. Blind allows employees to air grievances anonymously after they sign up with corporate emails.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
On our news tonight, still as it concerns the foreign scene, we'll be taking a look at Kanye West's perspective on something he calls the red media. Here is a video of his most recent statements on the red media.
The red are the executives that are Jewish at these companies. The number one cause of death for black people in America is abortion. The most dangerous place for a black man today, or a black baby, black woman, is in their mother's stomach. And that is a programming that's pushed through. I got a new word for 2024, the red media. That is the red media. If you go to Apple right now, go to Apple Music. Let's load up the top 10 songs. I guarantee you they're promoting black serial killing. Absolutely. Not just one. They're promoting black. The red media is making money off of black being serial killers to each.
Now, before we go into most of what he said, let's first see a little bit about Kanye West. Kanye Omari West, born June 8, 1977, is an American rapper, songwriter, record producer, and fashion designer. He is widely regarded as one of the most influential hip hop artists and producers, as one of the greatest musicians of his generation.
Born in Atlanta and raised in Chicago, West initially gained recognition as a producer for Rockefeller Records in the early 2000s, producing singles for several artists and developing the chipmunk soul sampling style. Intent on pursuing a solo career as a rapper, he released his debut studio album, The College Dropout, in 2004. To critical and commercial successes, he founded record label Good Music later that year.
And he is one of the world's best-selling music artists with over 160 million records sold. West has won a lot of awards and nominations in the entertainment industry. Now, this video of Kanye West on social media some days ago, we heard him saying what you just watched him say now. In America, black people don't take all the rights that they have, they are actually given to them, because they weren't given what they were promised in the first place, which is the 40 acres and the meal. Instead, they were given projects and bad food and posters of Oprah Winfrey and also Planned Parenthood.
In the video, he says when people tell him a lot of times to visit the Holocaust Museum, he also tells them to visit their own Holocaust Museum that is called Planned Parenthood. He acknowledged that 6 million Jews died in a Holocaust and is sorry for their losses, due condolences, but doesn't forget to state that 20 million blacks died to abortion. Planned Parenthood was made by Eugene's Margaret Sanger with the real KK as population control.
Now, he also says inclusively that the number one cause of death for black people in America is abortion. The most dangerous place today for a black man or woman is their mother's womb, and that is a programming that has pushed through the red media. Now, on his term red media, he showed a chart that has a long list of very popular companies with Jews being executives in them, and we have a video of that we want you to take a look at.
Here is a chart of Universal Studios, 20th Century Fox, ABC News, CBS News, Columbia Pictures, Warner Brothers, ESPN Sports, Fox News, Washington Post, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, MTV Music Television, Nickelodeon, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Comedy Central, NBC Entertainment, Google, what else do we have? Disney, ABC Kids and Family, YouTube, Los Angeles Times, Discovery, Paramount Pictures, Facebook, Huffington Post, Yahoo, Marvel, Hulu, Cosmopolitan, Time, Touchstone, Associated Press, Pixar, Miramax, HBO, New York Post, LucasArts, MSNBC, DreamWorks Animation. Now, the thing is, I skipped over maybe about 5 of them because it was just unclear on this list. The red are the executives that are Jewish.
Now, you heard him say if you go to Apple Music right now and load the top 10 songs, they are promoting black serial killing. So he is insinuating somehow that the red media is trying to annihilate the blacks from the surface of the earth, as most of their products encourage black. That could be an assumption, and at this point, as to why in other black countries the war is very much silenced, but not when it comes to Ukraine. Is racism still a thing? Do white lives really matter more than the blacks?
Well, the hopeful thing is at the end of his point of view, he says it is our time now, as he believes blacks are coming into money and are not scared anymore because he has shown that he crossed that line where they tried to bankrupt him and prove to the world that he was crazy just because he whistled, he says, but he is still alive. Now, Kanye West might be a controversial person as to the social media, as he's been displayed to the social media, but this caught our attention. And if nothing sticks to your mind at the end of of his revelation, you'd notice he said the red media, as he calls it, fought to bankrupt him because even they know that without money, voices cannot be heard and moves cannot be made. But with money, a lot can be done. One clear reason you see why we drafted for self defense and funding our struggle all the way. Blacks indeed are stepping into money, and in all, justice will be served.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
It is unacceptable that in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, the use of the colors blue and white is criminal. A fan of Chelsea Football Club has been arrested by La République du Cameroon colonial military and is now in prison for having in his possession the favorite club, Chelsea FC. Would other supporters of Chelsea FC in Amazonia still remain loyal to their clubs with the arrest of this person, Gio?
A worker of the mobile telephone communication network MTN in Ndul, Israel Gil, arrested 1 month supporting Chelsea FC, has been transferred to the Bamenda Central Prison. Mr. Gil, a strong supporter of Chelsea Football Club, is accused of working with Ambazonia liberation fighters because of the numerous Chelsea FC blue and white gadgets in his keeping. The reason for his arrest by La République du Cameroun forces is because he is always in blue and white colors. Upon his arrest, the colonial La République du Cameroun military asks why he has too many blue and white colors in his residence, the preferred colors, on the Ambazonian flag. The people of southern Cameroon's Ambazonian have their preferences as football clubs are concerned. The only undeniable proof that one is a fan of a given club is by buying and decorating himself, business premises, and homes with the emblems and gadgets of his club. It is in this same light that Mr. Israel Gil designed himself and his residence with the colors of Chelsea Football Club, his preferred club in the Premier League. Now, just because of his love for his club, he is now in prison for more than a month. The torture that the people of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia are going through in the hands of La République du Cameroon military and the colonial administrators have to stop. Undaunted on the story, talked with a Bamenda City dealer with an intention to find out if he is having a club that he supports and how he manifests his support. And he says, yes, of course, I have a club that I am supporting with all my strength. Arsenal Football in the English Premier League is my team. Now he goes on to say, I have been supporting Arsenal FC since the days of coach Arsene Wenger. I have even caused my wife to be supporting Arsenal as well. I am having all the team jerseys of Arsenal FC any day the Arsenal is playing. My wife and I on that day will dress in Arsenal jerseys. Anytime you hear me raising my voice, just know that it is about my club, Arsenal FC. Now, this Arsenal lover confessed.
Now, he is a die-hard supporter of Arsenal. He is still free from the colonial hands of La République du Cameroon's military just because the color of Arsenal FC are not like those of the flag of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. A scholar on the news of the arrest of Mr. Guillot, who prefers anonymity, expressed disbelief to the fact that La République du Cameroon's military are illiterate, not being able to read the words Chelsea but only see the color white and blue. Mr. Journalist, the arrest of Guillot is a revelation of the highest order. It shows that the colonial La République du Cameroon's military is just a bunch of illiterates. They can't even read How on earth would they arrest someone with gadgets with the inscription Chelsea FC on it, saying it is the Republic of Ambazonia? Where is the similarity? Looking at the picture gotten from the residence of Mr. Guillot, you see it on his blankets printed Chelsea painted blue and white. This is what this person had to say. Now, the arrest and detention of Israel Guillot by the La République du Cameroon's colonial military is even lighter compared to other severe and inhumane actions carried out against Ambazonians. La République du Cameroon's military one time bought 3 Ambazonian youths at the travelers' neighborhood, carried them to Belo Foncha area, and shot them at point blank just because Ambazonian liberation fighters passed around that area. A medical doctor and nurse were killed by La République du Cameroon's military in Mbengui just because they have been treating the wounds of Amazonian liberation fighters. The list is endless. Today it is Guillot imprisoned for wearing Chelsea FC emblems.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
The prices of basic is now the responsibility of traders and shop owners. They determine how much each must be sold. There's no protection from the so-called regulatory body, which is the Colonial Ministry of Commerce. One of the commodity experiencing price hike since October is domestic cooking gas. The price left from 8,000 francs CFA to 15,000 francs CFA in scarcity. Now that the different brands of cooking gas are seen at the retail shop, the price is still to go down to the initial 8,000 francs CFA. Now that the gas is available, why is it still expensive than before?
For several weeks this October, there was acute shortage of cooking gas in southern Cameroon's Amazonia, and we brought you the story. With the shortage in the supply of cooking gas lately, there was a hike in price to the tune of 15,000 francs CFA from the normal 8,000 francs CFA in Bamenda, which is about twice the price. The scarcity is now but history, but the price of this necessary commodity for household users is like maintained at 10,000 francs CFA, making it difficult for the common one who depends on it for cooking to afford it. This is not the case with La République du Cameroon, where this gas regulated at France 6,500 francs CFA. According to some sources, gas carriers were stranded in La République du Cameroon's waters and were prevented from delivering gas to the country due to administrative and currency issues. The colonial trade minister had this to say. Now, earlier this year, authorities in charge of the distribution of petroleum products said the shortage was caused by logistics challenges, citing a delay in the unloading of a complex oil vessel. Another reason that may explain the situation, according to Business in Cameroon magazine, is that in July, the colonial La République du Cameroon's government admitted fuel subsidies had become unbearable. The same may apply to domestic gas, which is subsidized by the Hydrocarbon Price Stabilization Fund, better known by its French language abbreviation CSPH. Now, the publication goes on to observe that at the end of March 2022, Luc Magloire Mbarga Atangana, the colonial La République du Cameroon's trade minister, who is also COB of CSPH, estimated the subsidy for a cylinder of gas at 6,777 francs CFA. He projected this subsidy to cost 70 billion francs CFA by the end of the year, way more than the overall expenses of CSPH, which are estimated at 66.09 billion francs CFA in 2020 and 52.2 billion CFA in 2020.
The cooking gas strategists revealed a challenge that can also be an opportunity for forward-thinking Southern Cameroonians. Cooking gas is not strictly reliable. This is an opportunity, therefore, for Southern Cameroonians investors to think of producing biogas on a larger scale, given that the colonial La Republic du Cameroon government has failed in assuring cooking gas security. Biogas is cost effective as it turns human feces into cooking gas. Also, solar energy is another reliable energy for cooking already. Solar power is being used to light homes and charge electronic appliances in parts of the northern and southern regions where the prolonged Anglophone conflict has meant power cuts that last for up to several months at a time. Solar cooking is not very popular this side of the globe yet, but it is also a source of energy that can be harnessed and converted to cooking power, and it is clean and sustainable as well.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, fellow Amazonians, it's another Tuesday. And of course, you already know that we usually have our news extremely brief. That is because we have the state of the liberation movement with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, F.Asce. He is also a fellow of the American Society of Civil Engineers. All right, and we have him here. Today is going to be extremely interesting because you are an integral part of the show. Now, what that means is that you will join the conversation. All we ask is that while we give you the numbers to join the conversation, ensure that you make your questions extremely constructive, clear, and smart. All right, right about now, let's bring you Dr. Martin Mungwa for his speech. All right, there is a lot he's going to be talking about the historical facts and La République du Cameroon, the seat surrounding the Quebec monologue. Let's have Dr. Martin Mungwa.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Hello, good day, Ambazonians. Welcome to today's presentation. The title for my presentation today is a historical facts on La République du Cameroon's deceit surrounding the Quebec monologue. Dear Ambazonians and gallant people of Ambazonia, permit me to restate that our freedom is in our collective hands. No truly sovereign people, like the people of the former UN Trust Territory of Southern Cameroons, have ever demanded freedom and not get it. It is rough. We are in the darkest hour of pain, but we'll get our promised land back from the hands of La République du Cameroon and France conspirators. Today, I want to revisit history and talk a bit about Quebec, because La République du Cameroon staged a monologue in Quebec earlier this month as part of her lame comeback strategy after turning its back to the United Nations, African Union, the European Union, and the Commonwealth, all of which had backed a proposed mediation process which began by President Sako and led by Switzerland. A mediated process, fellow Amazonians, is an open discussion in the presence of witnesses and guarantors who make sure that any settlement arrived at is guaranteed to be implemented to the letter. And to the letter. Then, never again shall there be war between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon. In running away from mediation, the Biya government has not proposed an alternative mediator to world powers. This belligerent action by La République du Cameroon throws a dark cloud over the well-being of Ambazonians and of Cameroon soldiers who obey bad orders to come and kill us. La République du Cameroon's pursuit of military victory over Ambazonia, despite the Council of World Powers, remains the greatest threat to peace in the Gulf of Guinea. La République du Cameroon has become a deliberate maker of refugees, motivated by a desire to annex territory that was not part of La République at her independence on the 1st of January 1960, and without the consent of the component federal state. This desire is unlawful, egregious, and cannot withstand international legal scrutiny. First of all, on behalf of my government, the interim government led by Dr. Sako, 21 gun salute to 1. All valiant Ambazonia restoration forces in the home front, those preparing for self-defense duties elsewhere, and those in transit to the home front to protect Ambazonians from La République du Cameroon state terrorists. 2. To the families of the slain school children at Mother Francisca Bilingual Academy in Fiango, Kumba on the 24th of October 2020. The second anniversary of those evil killings passed last week. We at the interim government have not forgotten any of the 7 children who died or the 13 children who were wounded by soldiers of French Cameroon masquerading as civilians in plain clothes. This interim government continues to offer its deepest sympathies to the parents and families of these children who were wounded and slaughtered in broad daylight by Cameroon plainclothes thugs. 2 weeks ago, at the very successful draft to fund peacemakers and self-defenders in our capital territory, Fako, the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia reminded us how La République du Cameroon abandoned the Swiss-led mediation process in Geneva without providing an internationally backed alternative. We were astonished that Yaoundé opted to stage another monologue in Quebec, Canada, to derive false narratives for misleading the world that she has won the Ambazonia War of Independence. The burning question is, why the heck did they choose Canada? Fellow Ambazonians, be properly informed of modern Canada, which is a sovereign nation and powerful development partner for a free Ambazonia. The history of Canada begins with the Battle of Quebec in September 1759 between the British Empire and France. Within a year, French Canada had capitulated to British forces. By the time hostilities finished in 1763, France was completely defeated and dispossessed by British forces in North America, leading to the formation of the modern state of Canada, which includes French-speaking Quebec. Over 200 years later, the French-speaking people of Quebec rightly agitated for recognition as a distinct society within Canada. The debate fueled the desire in French-speaking nationalists to secede from English-speaking Canada to form a French-speaking country which was going to be 2 times the size of France. France supported French speakers in Quebec to secede. In the 1980 referendum to change the Constitution of Canada and begin discussions towards a sovereign Quebec, the people of Quebec voted by nearly 6% against this plan. In a second referendum in 1995, the people of the predominantly French-speaking Quebec were asked whether Quebec should proclaim sovereignty and become an independent country. Again, the people of Quebec rejected independence. In there, we can clearly see an evolutionary process guided by consultation of voters in the affected province. There was no decree imposing special status on the people of Quebec. Furthermore, the leaders of Canada did not dodge political questions of the day while opting for military solutions as in the failed Cameroon Federation. By staging this comeback kid conference in Canada, Mr. Biya hoped to mask himself in what he does not seem to understand or practice. The people of Ambazonia were never defeated at war by Cameroon or France. We seek independence and not the distinct society sought by Quebec in the run-up to the 1980 referendum there. More fundamentally, in the coming weeks, we will talk about economics. We will show you how La République du Cameroon takes colossal wealth out of southern Cameroons and shares it 50-50 with France under a bad monetary cooperation agreement. Neither the Right Honorables EML Endele, Jongu Foncha, A. Njua, or St. Muna, or our House of Assembly signed any treaty enabling France to take away any of our earnings. La République du Cameroon executed such an economic cooperation treaty with France on December 26, 1959. The agreement is bad because France takes away 50% of all foreign earnings of the failed Cameroon Federation controlled by La République, which in return gets absolutely nothing free from France. In our simplest model, which is based on published values of exports from 1965 to 2021, the people of Southern Cameroon have lost over $100 billion to France over 61 years. La République du Cameroon has lost more. Economists talk of opportunity cost, which is the cost of lost alternatives. In the case of Ambazonia, we have lost time, lost infrastructure, and investment in our country, which could have kept our people developing in a safe haven country. Our compatriot Ambazonians seeking to federate with La République du Cameroon cannot close the drain hole kept open by treaties between France and Cameroon. France is eyeing all money in Ambazonia from the remaining oil, gold, timber, and our agricultural production to take away. We must be careful. We shall never accept. No retreat, no surrender. Thank you. Short live the revolution and long live the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Martin Mungwa. Thank you so much. Well, from what you have said, we understand now even clearer from your presentation that the interim government's position is a categoric no. Is there any other process or mediation the interim government would like to inform the public about? In short, what's there about interim government's diplomatic endeavors that can be recognized?
Thank you for that question. I think we have made it very clear that any negotiation between La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia has to go through a mediated process where the mediator is declared and we have to go through all the characteristics of a good mediator. They must be fair, they must be balanced, we must be able to talk to the public or tell Ambazonians exactly what the program is, and we'll have to inform Ambazonians on a daily basis or frequently enough for them to understand how things are moving. But in the absence of a mediated process, we already make it very clear that we need recognition with or without negotiation. And that is the current position of the interim government. And we are pursuing that in various ways. I don't think this is the moment appropriate for me to discuss the details, but I can assure Ambazonians that the ball is rolling as we speak, and we are working towards that objective. Thank you.
That's all right. We can only be hopeful.
All right, Dr. Mungwa, in your speech, you emphasized that France is eyeing all money in Amazonia from, I mean, the remaining oil, talking about gold, timber, and even agriculture production. Now, in your speech as well, you said France is sharing the economic income with Cameroon 50-50. Now, these and more, we can say, are the reasons why France has obviously been silent so far. Now, has there been any diplomatic move by the interim government towards France? That is one. Then, secondly, do you even think that Ambazonian can directly relate in the nearby future when it comes to these, especially on fair terms?
Well, in terms of communicating with France, I think there's been a open line of communication between the interim government and France as to the degree of seriousness on both sides, especially on the side of France. Is not something that I can talk about because that's in the domain of foreign affairs. So I have not been updated on the recent state of communication between the interim government of France. And it's only obvious that when you have belligerent parties, it is important to talk because that's what diplomacy is all about. You can't talk about diplomacy and say you don't want to talk. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to behave like La République, where uh, they don't believe in diplomacy. They think that the military solution is all they have in their arsenal. We are very open to discussions, and we believe that ultimately that discussion will have to come and we'll have to talk on real terms, not hiding, not going to secret locations in Canada and elsewhere to come to an agreement that is definitely unfavorable to La Republique. In terms of the future, I look, Ambassador should know how come that we produce more than 80% of the oil comes from southern Cameroon, and we have large, amounts of coffee, cocoa, and so on, and yet we don't really have 20 kilometers of tar road in Amazonia. I mean, furthermore, if you even look at the condition of so-called tar roads, it is so disgraceful. It doesn't seem to meet any international standards of road safety. And that's why you see a lot of accidents on our roads. Because these roads are simply, they just probably just pour a pavement without any proper design, no surveying done, no design based, the alignment based on traffic speed and or car speed and the volume of traffic. And in fact, it's not even supported by any scientific data. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that Amazonia is behind in terms of transportation. And remember, the economy of any country is measured by consumption and energy and transportation, because transportation is what drives the economy. And therefore, if you do not have the right road network, there's no way for you to move goods from one place to the other. Or, in other words, not only will it be difficult, but it will be extremely expensive. And when the unit of energy is extremely expensive, there's no way that that economy is going to grow. But we understand that there will be a lot of how do I put it, sacrifices when we start looking into climate change and other factors that affect the world temperature today. But in essence, for politicians and for good government, they want to ensure that the energy is as cheap as possible, or the unit of energy is as cheap as possible, because that's what drives the economy. Now you can see what is happening in La Republique. They don't have cooking gas, and even the so-called petrol is literally is unaffordable. So how can you think about emerging in 2035? It's quite laughable that all the elements of economics, they have lost touch of them because those who are in power, they are not qualified. These have been handpicked by France to make sure that they are in La République to support French interests. Nobody has ever thought about uh, uh, Cameroonian interest or Ambazonia in our case. So this is the reason why the internal government is bent to having a discussion that will take us out of this chokehold by France and La République du Cameroon. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Martin Mungwa. Well, I believe the withdrawal of La République du Cameroon from the Swiss-led mediation was a lesson that they learned. In any similar eventuality of a mediation process, what and or how does the interim government intend to act differently?
Well, again, that's a very good question. The we have, I think, ambassadors have to understand that the position that the interim government has taken is an internationally accepted procedure. There's nothing that we invented. When it comes to negotiations, when it comes to negotiations of this nature, we have to make sure that it's just like going to a game. If you go to a game where the referee comes from the country of the opposing team, how are you going to accept it? The referee must be neutral. The referee must recognize that both parties are equal, and the way they will assess the game will be fair. That's all we are looking for, and that referee must be known, and the terms of reference for the referee must be published. That's all we are talking about. You cannot go and say, okay, let's play this game in maybe in a secluded place, and nobody will know. We'll be the ones to announce the results. That's totally unacceptable. So I don't see any reason why we have to change the process. All we are asking is to make sure that it's internationally accepted by the international community, especially the stakeholders and the guarantors. If that is achieved, then we will come to the table. And also, we are coming to the table
Yeah.
as two parties, one Amazonia, the other La République du Cameroon. Those who support La République du Cameroon, either they are unionist or federalist, that's perfectly fine, but they should stay on the side of La République. They should not come on our side. I think we've made that very clear. When I see people saying, oh, they're going to Canada to have a united front against who? It can only be against Amazonia. And in that case, you can go to Canada, you can have your united front, and you can stay with La République. The day we have a mediator that's acceptable to both parties, we can come to the table and you can stay on the side of La République. That's perfectly fine with us.
Now you couldn't be any more right. No compromise on that one. Let me, I believe you have a question.
All right, Dr. Mungwa, you just made mention right now that if when we get the referendum, I mean, we have to have La Republic de Cameroon on one side, and we have the Southern Cameroons, that's Ambazonians, we have it on this side, and that's what we all are hopeful for. But now let's take a look back in your speech this evening of the runoff of the 1961 referendum and how it has been ignored by both France and La République du Cameroon. Now, aside from self-defense, what are some of the other instruments you can think of that can be employed to, prick the waters of global stakeholders and the international community to ensure that the needful be done?
Okay, let me just make a little correction there. The referendum was not in 1961. The plebiscite was in 1961, where we were asked, just seeking an opinion to the fact that whether we want to join La République du Cameroon, I mean, to form the failed federation, federation that failed. In 1972, yes, there was a sort of a bogus referendum where the referendum was conducted both in La République and in Southern Cameroon, which does not make sense. You ask a referendum is on the part that wants to be whole, that wants to be part of La République, and of course it failed. So we don't even talk about that referendum because it does not make sense, or at least from an international perspective, it wasn't conducted the way a referendum is conducted. We've seen examples in Quebec where the Quebecois were asked whether they want to be a sovereign state or to stay with Canada. Ultimately, they decided to stay with Canada for obvious reasons. The same applied to Scotland. They were asked whether they want to stay part of the United Kingdom or to be independent. Again, on several occasions, they all voted to be part of the United Kingdom. So, in addition to, of course, the self-defense strategy is on, and we shall never stay away from it. And the only other alternative, obviously, is the our international outreach. And as I mentioned earlier, yes, we do have an international outreach, but again, we have to be a little bit patient, because we can't just come here to announce every detail of what is actually going on. But we do have a very strong international outreach, and diplomatically, and the president is working very hard with partners to see how we can forge, at least on the international front. That is very, very important. We recognize that, and so we are. Even on the international, is further broken down to different spheres. So it's not just one we're pursuing. There's several other spheres that we are working on. And I believe that whenever there is a concrete position taken, the president will be the first to inform Ambazonians. But the only thing I can say here is that, yes, we are pursuing other alternatives on the international front. Over to you.
All right, so that means that Ambazonians should be hopeful that there will be an announcement soon from the interim government.
Surely. All right, now, Dr. Martin
Well,
Mungwa, thank you, because you give so much hope, because indeed that's what we see. Personally, I already envisage Amazonia independent already, being recognized as the 55th African nation. Well, you just said in what your presentation that in the case of Amazonia, we have lost a lot time, infrastructure, investment in our country. Now, me already picturing Amazonia being recognized today, from your perspective, how long do you think it may take Amazonia to regain all that they have lost and restore all they've lost, and to meet up, global competition, especially owing to the fact that you know so much? You already said that what determines the economy of any country is their consumption, energy, and transportation. So you know a whole lot. So we could ask you, how long do you think it's going to take if when Amazonia, not if, when Amazonia gets recognized, for us to restore all that has been stolen and lost?
Well, I don't want to go into so much guesswork here, but I can tell you that once Amazonia is sovereign, not where the regain of sovereignty, it would take us between 10 and 15 years to even to overtake La Republique in economic output. So I have this buffer between the time we have a sovereignty, because I don't want to put so much guesswork into that. In as much as I understand what is going on in the background, which is extremely powerful, but let me not let the cat out of the bag at this point. But I know that the moment that we have sovereignty, our economy, even within the first 5 years, you are going to see a market difference in our potential, in production, in all areas of the economy. I just want to bring a little point here, which many people keep, hammering out, and I think it's one of those distractions that La Republique is very good at. They keep on saying, "Oh, we should have elect our leaders." So-called this is not elected, and so on. And they have this splinter group that is trying to conduct all sort of fake whatever elections they believe that is going to identify the leaders. Look, we have to understand this. I think it's even. Let me just put a little scenario here. Just imagine that you are in a canoe, and you're trying to cross a river, or you are on a lake and so on, and somebody falls in that river. Let me tell you what La Republique will do. La Republique will say, go out and conduct an election to see who is the best swimmer to come and save this person who's in the river. And of course, when they sit at the table, first, they will not even agree on the person to save the person. They say, who is in the river? Oh, he's from Amazonia. They say, okay, I don't think that swimmer who is so good, he happens to be from Bettyland. I don't think we will allow him to go. And so look for another, his brother, and so on. That's what La Republique does. But this is what Amazonia does. When somebody falls in the river, we decide people instantly decide who is ready to jump in that river and save that person drowning. And when we do that, who are you going to say is a leader? Is it the person who is going out to elect somebody to come and jump in that river and save, or that person who has decided he's been able to evaluate and see the problem and try to solve it? That is what you call leadership in a time of crisis like this. We don't need an election to determine who the leader is. It's through action. When Dr. Sako saw the degree of chaos in our society, he decided to show up and defend Ambazonia. We did not have to go for elections. You do elections in peacetime. You don't do elections in time of war. In time of war, we look for leaders, and leaders show up to say, I am equal to the task. I am going to save you by my actions. I am going to save the situation by demonstrating that I have the skill set to solve it. You don't sit at the table to go for elections and determine who is the best person to do the job. This is something that La Republique has been perpetuating in the minds of weak Ambazonians, giving them the impression that it is only through elections that you have leaders. For 61 years, La République du Cameroon has never been able to conduct one simple, legitimate election. And that's why they prescribe that formula, because they know that ultimately you are not going to get the leader that was going to face them. So I want to make this very clear. In time of war, you don't look for leaders. Leaders show up. They show up with solutions. They show up with strategy. They show up to save those who are in distress. You don't go for elections. All those who are going for elections are those who want to listen to La République. And these are the people they want to use to kill us. So Ambazonians, beware of this. If anybody comes to you and says, you have not been elected, ask that person, what has he been able to do to save the lives of Ambazonians? We are sitting here today because we recognize the problem that Ambazonians is facing, and we are dedicating our lives to solving that problem. And when this struggle or war is over, I think it is very okay for anybody to say, I don't want to elect Dr. Sako as president. I'd rather get somebody else. Because it's possible that at peacetime, Dr. Sako may not be good. Somebody else may want to take over. That's fine. But as far as this war is concerned, we have to take Ambazonia to the state of sovereignty. And the rest of Ambazonia will decide whether or not we did a good job or not. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Mungwa. While they are deciding whether the present interim government is doing a good job or not, now let me take you back to the Canada conference. You know, in your speech here, you made a mention, you asked a question, why did they choose Canada? And I'm asking myself as well, why did they choose Canada? And I'm sure that Ambazonians would be wondering, why did they choose Canada? Now, this question comes up when this conference comes in. Now, I remember when we were interviewing the president, he referred to that particular conference as a monologue conference because, of course, we were not part of it. Now, what do you think, in your opinion, could be the reason why these, probably, let's call them hand-picked Yaoundés, chose Canada?
Well, it's all speculation. Having lived in France and worked with Ambazonians, or worked with Francophones, I always see this Francophone appeal among themselves, where they believe that the entire world is against them, and therefore, if they can go to a place where French is the predominant language, maybe they can listen to them. Again, that's all guesswork, but I believe that educated Quebecois or Quebecois statesmen can see can see through what La République is trying to do, and I can understand that even better because Canada has not given the blessing to this meeting, even at least officially. I don't think that Canada as a country is supporting. Otherwise, they would have made a statement to the point that they are the mediators and they would like to take over the Swiss government. But again, it's pure speculation. They think they have a bunch of Francophiles or Francophones who may be, may pity their condition, and the fact that Canada is a supposedly bilingual country. They want to give us the impression that because it's a bilingual country, they're going to be fair, but they're not using the right tools. They're not using the right tools. Canada should be able to come out and say, we have taken over the Swiss process. We are replacing Switzerland. If they make that statement to all the international stakeholders and abide by the rules of negotiation, we will consider it. We will consider it. But just going to a French-speaking part of Canada, I even hear there are friends in Quebec who said they don't even know where they were meeting. So it was all very secretive. And it's very clear from what we learned is that this machination was done by Diongute. It is his personal pet project that he had promised his masters that he was going to execute because he knew that he had a very high probability of success. But of course, like everything, La République, from La République, it always falls flat on his face because the interim government are composed of people who are much smarter. We understand even politics at a much higher level than La République thinks we do. So you can see why at every turn we can catch the tricks they're trying to play on us. So again, as I say, just speculation because I don't think a well-meaning Quebecois statesman will accept the approach that La République has taken. But again, it's a free country. Anybody can come there and make decisions and draw conclusions the way they want. So I'm not here to judge that. But as far as the interim government is concerned, it's on them. We have nothing to do with what is going on in Quebec. Over to you.
All right, you made mention of the right tools. You said Canada is not making use of the right tools. What are the right tools you would rather let us see, or you want them to show us? What are those right tools?
Yeah, I think we've made mention. It's not even of my making. The president made it very clear what it takes to be a mediator. They must, first of all, declare that they've taken over the Swiss-led process, and they must come to the media and state categorically that they are going to be impartial, and they have to also make it very clear that this mediation is between two parties. One party is Ambazonia, and the other party is La République du Cameroon. We are not talking about civil society and all that sort of thing. La République had already arrested civil society leaders, put some in jail, others they came to some sort of a compromise. Now they want to come back and negotiate with civil societies. They lost the opportunity in 2017 or earlier when the lawyers and the teachers were marching. That was the time for them to negotiate with them. They lured them into a hall and they arrested all of them. We remember that. And now you are turning back to go and negotiate with the same civil society that you had arrested. I mean, La République thinks that we are fools. Why didn't they negotiate with the teachers and the lawyers when they were protesting? What did they do? They brought helicopter gunships and they started, killing unarmed civilians. That is La République for you. And they always believe that we have a short memory. Now you are going to Canada to talk to civil society. Which civil society? The ones in jail? Or the ones who be able to bribe? Look, Amazonia are very intelligent people. They know the trick that La République is playing. They understand it. So let nobody be fooled. The negotiation we have at hand is between two parties. One is Ambazonia and the other is La République du Cameroon. Ambazonia is headed by President Samuel Ikomisako, and La République du Cameroon is headed by whoever they choose as their leader. Whether it's Paul Biya, Ngongo, Diongute, Paul Tasson, that's fine. But let's meet at the table.
That's just paramount. Thank you so much, Dr. Martin Mungwa. Thank you so much. I'm sure you've been following our report, and you already just mentioned something now about them terrorizing our civil population. You follow the news for today, so I'm sure you would notice the part where we talked about a young Amazonian being sent to prison for wearing a white and blue colored outfit representing Chelsea, actually, because he's a fan of Chelsea. But then he was arrested for wearing white and blue because they believed, because he wore white and blue, he is an Amazonian restoration forces. I mean, what do you have to say about this?
Let me tell you, La République du Cameroon arrests a fly that is that has the color blue or white on it. These people have lost their minds. Why have they lost their minds? Because they've lost the war. They have lost the war, and now they're attacking anything that they see. Look at an innocent young man. He's been detained for charges that are so frivolous. It is, I mean,
Also, a lot of Amazonians might have a lot to say, and I should remind the audience that tonight is that Tuesday where you get the chance to ask a question, make a contribution to us here. As you can see, the numbers are displayed on your screen. So just in case you have a question to ask, you have the Secretary of State for Communications and IT here to dissect that question for you. So do well to call in those numbers and get your questions to Dr. Martin Mungwa P. So he'll answer
I
that
mean,
for you.
just to finish, I mean, I
Back to you,
hope,
sir, just in case you have
yes,
something
I
else to
hope
say.
the story about this gentleman is made as international as possible, like any other such arrests that have been baseless, so that he should be released at the earliest convenience. This is, I mean, it's incredulous. I don't know how to describe such an action, that anybody who remotely uh, uh, looks like so-called Amazonian restoration force is either killed or taken into jail. This is unfortunate, but let me tell you, that is the character of La République du Cameroon, and these are the people that Amazonians are fighting to come into union with. Whoever is standing on our way to sovereignty, they will be called upon to to answer to the Amazonian people when the time comes, because that time is near. That I can assure you, that time is near. Over to you.
All right. Let me also ask this, Dr. Mungwa. Now, talking about the war, we have here. We talked about the Unity Warriors. Now, we also noticed that the Unity Warriors are remarkably killing the Amazonian Restoration Forces instead of the occupier. What's happening? Why the mix-up, sir?
Well, again, this is the information that has been coming from the interim government and the self-defense has been very clear from the beginning. We have been able to provide documented proof that the Unity Warriors, the ADF, they are all an extension of La République du Cameroun Army. These are all people who have been paid to work as contractors for La République Army. And this is the information that the interim government and specifically the ARFs are working on in order to understand their movement and their strategy. This is a strategy that is in the hands of the ARFs and the commanders to see what we can do in order to work around these traitors. And it is not even today's, I wouldn't say today is the nth time that we've instructed Ambazonians and the ARFs. So I want to leave it at that point, because I don't want to disclose any of the strategies that we're working behind the scene to put into place. It is a very, very challenging moment for all of us in Amazonia. But at the same time, I am very happy that we have people who understand how to make sure that we can execute this war. Of course, it's impossible that you execute a war without losing some men. That's the unfortunate part of it. But I can assure you that we are standing strong because of the leaders that we have on the ground, because of the soldiers, because of the generals, because of the well-trained soldiers that we have on the ground, in addition to the strategy that we've put in place to degrade La Republique battlefield advantage. We have to do that. And we've been doing it consistently. We hope to improve on the techniques that we developed over the years, because we now have tested several formulas and we know the formula that works. We just need the funding to make sure that it is efficient, so that it is reliable. That's all we need. And I think the result of the drafts in the past month or so is all this funding is all geared towards making sure that the options that we've taken, the strategy that we've taken, they're reliable. Means that we can repeat them over and over again with the same degree of success. It takes a very trained and disciplined force to execute that. And that's exactly what we're doing with the restoration forces. They have to be disciplined and they have to understand how to execute this war. And bearing in mind that we expect losses in every war, no matter how strong the forces are. But we want to cut it down to the bare minimum. And that's why discipline within the restoration forces is key. Understanding hierarchy is
Thank you
key.
so much. Yeah,
Okay, over to you.
indeed it is. Speaking of the restoration forces, like you said, and discipline amongst them, there's been a video about by Capo Daniel, the spokesperson for the ADF and AGOV-C, acknowledging representation at the Canada conference. Now, what does this tell you, sir?
Doesn't tell me anything. I think you should ask him why he's there. Look, I represent the opinion of the Amazonian people. So if somebody else goes, I don't have to be asked why the person went. We never communicated. Let the Amazonian people decide. They will interpret that the way they want. Is that for Amazonia or is against Amazonia? I think we've made our position very clear and the reasons why we
Really?
did not attend.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Amazonians who are listening, I'm sure you've heard it from SOS Martin Mungwa himself. You've heard him. You should make the decision for yourself. Decide. Someone who goes for a monologue, or what do I call the Canada talks, represents, shows full representation there, and is ahead of the ADF, the representative of the ADF and the AGOV-C. They're going to represent you in something that doesn't lead to your freedom, that doesn't lead to your independence or sovereignty. What does this tell you? Who are they really supporting? Are they really freedom fighters, or are they Confucianists in the struggle? Well, you be the judge.
All right, while you are thinking about that, while you are trying to decipher where to turn to, we have the numbers on the screen. Use the number, call in to join this conversation. Dr. Mungwa is here and is ready to respond to all your questions. The number is right here on the screen.
No calls. I'm waiting.
All right, Dr. Mungwa, while we are waiting for the callers to come through right about now, we'll just give them more minutes to call in. Now, as the spokesperson for the interim government, now we believe that you're in a better position to handle public concerns on this issue. Sometime last week, we had the SOS for the Department of Resource Mobilization sending out a message suspending the draft. We had hoped that we had two drafts. We had two departments to draft for, not counties now. We're already done with the county. Now we're hoping that we had two departments to draft for. Now, what was the reason why the draft was suspended?
While I mean, I cannot say for sure why it was suspended, but I guess that I think we've been drafting every week for quite a while. I mean, it means a lot of financial commitment, and not everybody can afford 200, 500, $1,000 every week. That's a lot of sacrifice. I mean, we need to cool off a little so that people can, can make some money, and then we can start all over again. This is People have to understand that this revolution costs money, and it is we are using hard currency. When somebody puts in $1,000 every week, that's $4,000 a month. Do you know what that means? Many people, even here in America, don't make $4,000 a month. They don't. It only makes sense for us to take a break. We can't, milk a cow to death. I think we need to stay for a while. Otherwise, I mean, people will get discouraged because it's not easy to get that amount of money. Many people who've never been involved in drafts, they don't seem to understand how much it takes in people's income, where the same people get called, or most of the same call every week, and they're always so kind to chip in $200, $500. $200 is what some people make a month in Amazonia, or even in some West African countries. That's what they make a month. But people will give $200 every week. That's $400 a month, and so on. So I can understand why they have to suspend it for now, so people can have some breathing space, and when the time comes, I think it will be relaunched. So it makes it just sounds logical to me. I don't have to ask because it's impossible to keep, giving money
No.
indefinitely. So
Yeah, no,
that's the
I
reason
can
why.
understand that clearly. But now that it has been suspended, when do you think it would start again, or are we going to keep it on hold throughout the rest of the year?
Again, it is not my portfolio. But I'm sure when the time comes, I'll be informed of it. Uh, I wouldn't, I can't guess when it will start again. But when the time comes, we will be informed. At least in the meantime, we have to collect all the pledges that are out there, and we believe that the amount of money that has been pledged is sufficient to take us for a while. And once we get to that strategic point where we need to uh, put back fuel in the car, so to speak, I think the department will make the necessary announcement. For now, I think we have a sufficient war chest to proceed with the execution of the war for a while. That I can
Now, okay,
honestly say.
let me just, yes, yes, Dr. Mungwa, I believe so much in funding because I know that it's through funds that you can make progress. You know what they say about money, how it answers all things. Now, do you think that the IG, the interim government, is considering other funds or other sources of funding for these mission to pull through?
We have our first call. Okay, let me take it. I want to answer after. Hello, this is SOS Mungwa speaking.
Oh, yes. This is Mayor Curry. Am I live? Are you still on the air?
Yes, you are live, Mayor Karen. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much once more. I want to thank your host,
Miss Opala, Miss Star Smart. Appreciate all that they do, as well as you. I've been listening, and I was hoping that someone would call because I'm at work, but something jumped to me, so I said, well, I'll just call in and make a little contribution. You know, we have learned a long time ago, even from when we were kids, that anything that happens under the cover of night is dangerous and worth distancing from. I say this in reference to the subject of conversation today, which is the retreat. I call it the retreat that took place in Canada. I say so because we heard about no confirmation whether or not there was a retreat. There was no confirmation as to agenda or purpose. There was no mention of attendees, no duration, no resolutions, and so on and so forth. Those of us who live in North America, yesterday we celebrated Halloween Day, and it's a very scary time. And so when you think back to that kind of activity, you think about Halloween. It's a time when evil spirits are supposed to be out there. Anything that happens in that kind of circumstance is not trustworthy. That's why there's no transparency. That's why there's no sense of accountability. That's why they were not able to come forth and say, Canada was not able to come forth and say, yes, we are replacing the streets. No, we are not. Oh, yes, we are hosting a conference and this is the purpose. La Republic say, yes, we are organizing a conference in Canada. This is the purpose and this is who is supposed to be in attendance and this is who was invited. And that's why there was no form of official invitation letter to any entity that we know, any individuals or entity that we know that were describing the content of such a meeting or the purpose of such a meeting. And so my very, very short contribution is that we have to be wary of anything that happens in the cover of night. And so I think you were spot on about articulating the position of the government, the people's interim government. And so I just wanted to make that little contribution and to appreciate all of you for a wonderful outing today, as always.
Thank you, Mayor Kerry. Absolutely correct. I think you've just hit the right points. And let me tell you how La Republic operates. I mean, the reason why they structured this so-called backdoor meeting the way they did is for a possible deniability. Because if things work, they say, well, they went there and they were able to probably elect their leaders, and they've decided to do this. But if it didn't work, they will just stay quiet and nobody will ever hold them accountable. You can see exactly what is happening because even after the first so-called meeting, nobody has a report on it. And all my intelligence points to the fact that it was never announced on CRTV, Radio Cameroon, or the government press, Cameroon Tribune. That is very purposeful, so that they don't want to be associated with it, which even goes to point to that fact that the president said,
Canadian press,
or even the Canadian press, goes to the same point that Dr. Sako was saying, that this is a backdoor negotiation, that in fact the outcome of it had already been established and they just wanted it to go the right way. Unfortunately, it did not, so they stayed quiet. But they have not given up. Ambazonians, let me tell you this. La Republique has not given up because that's the only option they have. So don't be surprised if something comes out. We already learned that Paulinus Joa sneaked out to Canada. He's part of the enablers trying to negotiate on our behalf. I mean, this is very serious. This is somebody whose dad we are trying to resurrect today. His government. And yet you have Amazonians who are relatives of our leaders who were either poisoned, killed in the 60s, and their offsprings are negotiating with Amazonia. We have to be watchful. The reason, what I have to tell Amazonians is that the future of Amazonia is owned by everybody. Nobody has the right from the past because his father was a prime minister, his father was this. He or she has the right to go and negotiate with La Republic. That's not going to happen. We are all intelligent. We have now understood the modus operandi. We are not going to accept it because we have a stake in the future of this country. We all own that real estate called Amazonia. And leaders will rise up and join us so that we can fight together. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Carey. I think there's one other caller whom we missed. Let me get in touch with her so that we can communicate with her. Let me see. My COS. Let me get to you. Let me see. Ruth. Just give me a few seconds. Yes. Ruth.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
Oh, hello. Okay, welcome back. And I think the last caller was asking a question. Who should they follow? Because there are several splinter groups representing the IG. I think this is a recurrent theme that we have done all week in our part to explain to the Amazonian people. Certainly, there are some people who have been going out, and in fact, I call them splinter groups because that's what they really are. They are breakaway. And I think it's very important for people to take time to listen and watch what each of these groups are doing in order to determine who is actually fighting for Ambazonia. We have made it very clear our position on trying to establish the sovereignty of Ambazonia. We have made it very clear that this cannot happen in darkness. We have made it very clear that we are not going to negotiate with La République du Cameroon on terms that are not open to Ambazonians. We have made it very clear that only two entities are supposed to be on the table. On the one hand, we have Ambazonia, led by President Samuel Ikome, and on the other hand, you have La République du Cameroon, led by Paul Biya. We have made it very clear that in the 60s, when we went to meet with La République in Fumban, it wasn't a revolutionary council. It wasn't even a council. It was a government led by Django Foncha, who made Ahijo, or the French Cameroon, led by Amadou Ahijo. We want to recreate the same scenario that brought us together, and because that union never worked or that federation did not work, we have to break off. It has to be the same formulation. We cannot go as a council. We cannot go as a subject to La République du Cameroon. We are not subjects of La République du Cameroon. So long as we appear to be subjects, it means that they will be superior to us. They will be dictating the conditions under which we have to be together. And that's what we are trying to explain to Ambazonians. We are going there as two nations of equal status. And that is the message that we want to send out there to Ambazonians to understand. If you are going there because La République du Cameroon wants to negotiate in darkness, you have to know that you'll come out there as part of La République. There's no way that you are going to come out as an independent country. So for those Ambazonians who believe that we have to be independent, and that's exactly what we're fighting for, this is the forum and this is the message that we have for you. We in the interim government under Dr. Sako, and there's only one interim government. Anything outside Dr. Sako is a splinter group, and we are the interim government, and that's the message we have for you. So you can compare the package that we have presented to you with what others are trying to represent to you. It is very clear that those who've been going behind the scene trying to negotiate with La République du Cameroon without even telling Ambazonia exactly what they are going to negotiate on, without telling us whether there's going to be a neutral person, without telling us whether they're going to be guarantors to make sure that if when the negotiations are met, they will observe the change in the way we are governed. If these people are not there so that they are our witnesses, then we are still going to go back to 1961 and repeat the process for another 61 years. I don't think that's what we're fighting for. I strongly suggest that Ambazonians should put a little bit more effort to understand what we're fighting for. Because if we don't get that sovereignty, no matter what you're doing, if you think that's more important than this war, it will lead to nothing. Because if La République du Cameroon would destroy everything that we are trying to build. So those who think they can go along trying to build things in Amazonia without making sure that we have sovereignty, it wouldn't take long for La République to destroy everything. Like they destroyed Cameroon Bank, like they destroyed Santa Coffee, like they destroyed WADA, like they destroyed the UNVDA, like so many other institutions that they destroyed in our country. That's what they will continue to do, and there are no signs that they are going to change. They will keep on deceiving you like they said they are going to build the Tico Airport or the Tico Seaport or the Victoria Seaport or the Bermuda Seaport and the Bermuda Ring Road. These are the stories that they will be feeding you day in, day out, but they will never do anything. And that's why the interim government, Dr. Samuel Ikome, has made it very clear. We have to sit on the table as equal partners. Thank you. I hope I've made it very clear.
You have to. We just have to. Yeah. All
Any
right,
other call?
Dr. Martin Mungwa. A report coming from F.Asce this afternoon says a Cameroonese woman collapsed in Clema, Malabo, as she was approached by Guinean police. And Malabo police this evening combed the city in search of those without permit. So apparently, the shock due to the fact that she, a Cameroonian without permit to be in Equatorial Guinea, would be, chased out and caught by the police. So shocked that she collapsed. So this is the report we got from Hansi this afternoon. And following that, we also reported something a few days ago about Amazonians and Cameroonians who were left in an inflatable boat and sent off into the wild sea for them to find their way back home. And it looked very impossible from the videos we brought that day, and I'm sure the videos will come to you very soon, and you get to see the very disheartening state. It's more like a very, very slim chance of survival for those who were put back in that inflatable boat to wander to wherever, because they were not wanted in the country where they ran to because of the war. So the effect of this war is really alarming, and it's making people, you can see the video for right now, it's really alarming, and it's making people take really wild risk instead of staying a homeland where things like what we just read now happen. Instead of staying at homeland where people get to be arrested for no just cause, get killed for no just cause. It's happening both in the Cameroon, in La Republic du Cameroon, and in Ambazonia. So we have people, this lady now this afternoon collapsed because she was going to be sent back to her country, Cameroon, because she was going to be caught by this police. I mean, what do you think the interim government is doing, to reach out to these people? What do you think the interim government is doing to reach out to these people?
I just want to be very clear, to reach out to which people, to who? You mean La Republique citizens or Ambazonian citizens?
No, Amazonian citizens are part of this too.
Okay. This is a very, very unfortunate situation, and I just wish that the interim government has the resources to stretch that far, to to get to these Amazonians. Um, I first of all, we before you do something of this nature, you need to have a list of the Amazonians who are there. You cannot just work in a vacuum. I have to talk to Foreign Affairs if they have any information on those who are in Equatorial Guinea. I have no information on that. And what are the possible scenarios to help them besides contacting the International Red Cross and so on, and hopefully to be able to convince them to help, to provide help. The interim government has extremely very limited resources. As you all know, the resources that we get come from the willing Amazonians in the diaspora who are taking all sort of uh, measures to cut down on their daily financial expenses to provide that extra to us. But at a situation like this, where it has to do with international boundaries, I believe that the best we can do is to work with the Red Cross to see how they can help such people, at least to be in stay in peace. So I think the best we can do is to contact the Department of Health and Social Services to see whether they have any extension or any any location in Equatorial Guinea. To the best of my knowledge, I only know of Nigeria and Ghana and other English-speaking countries. I've not been aware of the case of Equatorial Guinea.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mungo. I believe
Say
you
is
can
I
hear me. Can
like
you hear me,
the
sir?
Yes, I can hear you
one
very
thing I
well.
must say is I like the
Okay,
interim.
okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I want to just follow up with that question, and I think that we're coming to close of this program. Yes, I'm well aware, like you said, if the interim government can go through the Red Cross. I'm also well aware that the office of Dr. Tita has been able to stretch out on other regions aside from Nigeria. They've come as far as going to Brazil to Mexico, and even in some parts of the Caribbeans, and even the women have made some efforts. But do you think that it will be needed as Secretary of State for Communication to create a task force whereby we can get necessary information on those who are affected and that are Amazonians, and that your office can work in liaison with the HSS to pursue some international support, or why not resettlement into other safe region?
Yeah, thanks, PD, for that question. Statistics is always very important because that's the basis of decision making. Yes, I think it will be extremely useful for us to know, have a head count. You even forgot Cyprus, where we've been able to go that far in order to help Amazonians. Yes, head count is very important, and I would hope that with the help of Department of Health and Social Sciences, we can see how we can get that information and see in what area or in what capacity we can be helpful to them. It's extremely difficult, but at the same time, I think if we can try to see if some international organizations can help us with the limited resources that we have, we should be able to bring happiness or some sort of uh, 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 stability in our fellow countrymen who are taking this very dangerous journeys to different parts of the world.
Okay,
Over to
thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. Perhaps you want to give your closing remark, and I'm sure Onye will be ending the program right after that. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Fellow Ambazonians, I think one more time, I've come here today to talk about the position of the interim government. We've been able to talk about the case of Quebec and how the Quebecois have evolved over the years since they were conquered by the British, and how they've tried to form a sovereign country. They were never given a special status. They never used this sort of threatening or sub human condition for them to stay Canadians. They used their free will. They went through an elected process. And remember, these were people who they could have told them that we don't care what happens to you because you are a conquered people. However, they were able to give them the opportunity on several occasions to decide whether or not they want to join the Canadian Federation. And ultimately, you realize that they accepted on their free will. We have decided, like other parts of the world, that we no longer want to be part of La République du Cameroon. And this is the position of the interim government, and we are going to fight that position to the end. So long as Amazonians have faith in the interim government, so long as Amazonians trust in us, we can assure you that we are going to take this battle to its final conclusion. Thank you very much, and have a nice, safe rest of the day. We meet. I will talk to you again next week. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Martin. It's been an exceptional night talking with you this evening. Well, we hope to see you next week for another extraordinary time with you. Well, fellow Amazonians, this is where I would draw the curtains. We've been speaking with Dr. Martin, PhD. Dr. Martin Mungwa, PhD. He is also a fellow of the American Society of Civil Engineers. And before we go, let's just give you a recap of our major stories this evening.
And tonight on Dotted, we looked at the Unity Palace Warriors of Shade Tata Wolves Candy welcoming freedom fighters, and 3 cases of monkeypox virus detected in game, and Elon Musk also who buys Twitter and sacks top administrators.
We also told you of the story of an Amazonian who is in prison for supporting Chelsea Football Club by La République du Cameroun. I also gave you the story of cooking gas, how it is back, but the price is extremely high, especially in Bamenda. And this is where we draw the full curtains on Undaunted tonight. I am Onye Okbala.
And I am Star Smart. We'll leave you with ABC Amber TV images. Good night and God bless you.
With the people, ABC Amber TV, Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.